Imran, what is this just another conspiracy yet again against you and your family?
It's sad. It's not. I'm not the only one who's struggling in this country. I mean, all political opponents have been mercilessly pursued by this government. All sorts of tactics are used to defame them. Because you see, the problem in Pakistan is this: that the Prime Minister is completely corrupt, and the leader of the opposition, which is Benazir, she's completely corrupt. Now, for the past 10 years, rather than answer their corruption charges, like for instance, I mean, they've called my wife for smuggling. So what am I doing? We're trying to get proof that we are not corrupt by actually having them independently assessed by renowned institutions and proving to them that these tiles are new. But when we talk about corruption of Benazir or Nawaz Sharif, they don't ever try and prove their innocence. All they try and their defense is to attack the other one and say, you're corrupt too. So, I mean, not only me, but I mean most other people, whenever anyone accuses Nawaz Sharif of being corrupt, the first thing his henchmen do is try and prove that the other people are corrupt too. A smear campaign, which is what is happening.
If you've just joined us, I'm talking to Imran Khan, leader of Tehreek-e-Insaf, live from Pakistan. Imran, the fact is that they are corrupt. How are you and Tehreek-e-Insaf going to get them out of power and have a non-corrupt state, basically? How?
Well, there is no shortcut. I mean, what we hope to do is that organize a party, which we are doing. We are, inshallah, hope to start a mass membership campaign in 1st of March. And what we think is that our party, the people have seen Muslim League and Benazir's People Party. People realize that both these parties have been tried twice. They cannot deliver because they themselves are the problem. So how can they find solutions for Pakistan? People are looking for a change, and they're looking for new faces, new people. And I think that's where we feature. Tehreek-e-Insaf is going to be the only national party in Pakistan in the next elections, because the other parties are now basically becoming all regional parties. People's Party in Sindh, Muslim League in Punjab, and so on. So what we hope to do is that in the next elections, we hope to convince the people that if they want to change, then the party for change is Tehreek-e-Insaf.
And how, Imran, are you mobilizing support now for Tehreek-e-Insaf in light of the fact that you didn't win any seats in the last general election?
Well, last general election was not possible to win any seats. I mean, we could have won 2 or 3 had there been fair elections, but we didn't expect more than that because, the party was only 4 months old, and bear in mind that there are 130 million, 140 million people in Pakistan. So it's not really in 4 months you hardly are supposed to have a political organization spreading all over Pakistan. But since the elections, all we have done is worked on a political organization spread all over the country. 1st of March, we start a membership campaign. It will be the first time Tehreek-e-Insaf will be going into public. Only this time we'll be doing it the other way around. First, we went to the public without a political organization. Now we are going to the public after forming a political organization. And I think you will see 99, the year of a big change in Pakistan, and you will see the emergence of Tehreek-e-Insaf as a force, as a national party in Pakistani politics.
Now, Transparency International, a Berlin-based research group, have put Pakistan second in its corrupt league of countries. Now, if you did get into power, how would you tackle corruption? What would be your general philosophy on that issue?
You see, corruption is an issue because when the Prime Minister is corrupt, his ministers are corrupt, and the opposition leader is corrupt, then don't expect that the rest of the country is not going to be affected by corruption. So what we are going to do is, we will distinguish between those who have corrupted the system, like the politicians who've been in power and corrupted the system, and those who have been corrupted by the system. That distinction will have to take place. So people who've been corrupted by the system, they are not the problem. We will give amnesties. But the people who have corrupted the system, we will hold them accountable. We will punish them. We will confiscate everything they have. And always corruption is tackled from the top. So don't blame, when you say the whole, Transparency International, that it's the second most corrupt country. It's not the fault of the people, because the same people will go to systems like in Britain or like in the United States and behave like law-abiding citizens. But in Pakistan, it's a system that corrupts them. So what we have to do is to change the system, and change the system by independent accountability cell, We'll change the system by having decentralization, because a centralized system causes corruption. Then by a devolution of power. Then by a conflict of interest law. We have no conflict of interest law in Pakistan. You can, for instance, Nawaz Sharif came with one factory when he came into power, and he has 30 factories now. So, in a country where you have conflict of interest law, like in Britain, there's no way you can do that. And also, you just have internal accountability in departments, cut down the red tapeism in Pakistan, the huge bureaucracy, the more the bureaucracy, the more the corruption, review their salary structure, people just are not paid enough. But basically it has to start with a proper accountability.
Imran, now in light of what you say, you obviously believe in what you say, do you believe that your life is always in imminent danger? Imran Khan?
As a Muslim, you don't... hello?
Yes, we're here. We can hear you.
Yeah?
Yeah. Please go on.
Yeah, as a Muslim, you don't worry about things like, your life is in danger or anything. Because, we believe very firmly that, the time of our death is in Allah's hands. And, it's like saying don't go to a war because you'll get killed. I mean, this is really a war in Pakistan. It's a jihad. Because here we are trying to save our country from being a failed state. So, it is a duty of every Muslim to stand up to these tyrants, because Islam does not tell you to fight kafirs. You must remember this. Islam tells you to stand up to oppression. Islam tells you to fight injustice. And that's what real jihad is. This misconception, some people say that, fight anyone who's a non-believer is nonsense. We only fight oppression, and that's what's happening in Pakistan. The poor people in this country have no justice. They have no jobs. There's inflation, which is killing the common man. And that's what we have to do. We have to give justice to our people. We build a welfare state. And then maybe Allah's blessings will be on our country.
But we have a culture of tax evasion. And the welfare state obviously stems from having some taxation, a system of taxation. How would you work that system? How would you actually have a welfare state and have tackle this culture of tax evasion?
Well, the culture of tax evasion in Pakistan is because the ruling elite has never paid taxes. The ruling elite always gives itself amnesties from paying taxes. They find schemes to avoid taxes in Pakistan. The rich landlords don't pay any taxes, and the rich industrialists don't pay any taxes. The poor people in Pakistan for 50 years have been subsidizing the rich. Whereas in England or in America, it's the rich who subsidize the poor. So you have a welfare state where you take money from the rich, and not too much, so that it kills the incentive, but, pay their share to the society and subsidize the poor people. Now, also you must remember that in a Muslim state, zakat is something which we can form a welfare state just on zakat. Shaukat Hanum Cancer Hospital is a prime example in Pakistan, that here is one of the poorest countries in the world, and yet we have a state-of-the-art cancer hospital giving 90% free treatment to the poor people, only because we have, in Muslim countries, people giving zakat. So we have a zakat fund which solely treats the poor patients free. And that's how we can set up a welfare system. We can have medical institutions, we can have educational institutions, quality institutions, not government controlled, run by independent boards, non-profit, and we have every institution as a zakat fund, which then is used to give free treatment to the poor patients and give free education to the poor people.
I want to ask you a couple of questions about the Pakistani cricket team. I know that you don't follow cricket in the way that you used to. Lots of allegations of bribes, etc. What's going on there, in your opinion?
Well, obviously there was some match fixing that took place because, but I don't believe recently. I think this is all 4 years back when all this happened. And unfortunately, our cricket board didn't take any firm action on that. As a result, these allegations dragged on, and basically it's destroyed our very, very highly talented cricket team. So what needs to be done is, this inquiry must finish very soon. They must take action against those players who were involved in it, and then get rid of those players, and that would be the beginning of the rise of Pakistan cricket, because we have tremendous talent here.
Do you believe that the Pakistani cricket team should go to India?
Yes, I don't see why not, and I don't understand why they should be scared of this very cowardly leader of Shiv Sena, this Bal Thackeray. He's a complete bigot, he's a fundamentalist, he's a fanatic, and for 8, 9 years I've noticed that he keeps preaching hatred. He was responsible for the slaughter of Muslims in Bombay. This man has intimidated film stars, Pakistani artists. Because of him, a tour of ours was cancelled in 1991, I believe. And I don't understand why India, which is supposed to be a secular country, a secular constitution, why does it allow such a criminal to go on without doing anything against him? This man should be in jail by now.
Imran, in light of that, isn't it really the case that the BJP have got a different agenda from what they pretend to have in terms of the secular agenda that they sometimes say they've got? They've toned down their extremist policies, at least in public. Do you think in light of nuclear testing and the BJP being in power in India and Pakistan now being a nuclear power, that the region may face nuclear holocaust at any stage?
I don't think so. I think the thing about nuclear weapons is that it creates a balance of terror. And no two countries who are nuclear would ever dare to go to war because it's suicide. And, that was the reason why there was no war between any two nuclear countries since the end of Second World War.
But in light of that...
I think that, in a way, it prevents war.
Right.
Of course, I mean, we shouldn't be complacent about it.
Okay.
We should try and solve all our problems between India and Pakistan. And it should be based on friendship.
Right, but in light of that multilateralist theory, that deterrent theory, take the Cuban Missile Crisis, for example. Now, John Kennedy, when he was president of the US, he could have so easily have misjudged Russia's intentions, Khrushchev's intentions. So similarly here, don't you think that Pakistan may feel that if it doesn't make a first strike in a war, that its nuclear capability may be knocked out, and that, the deterrent theory doesn't necessarily work, as you've stated?
Well, not really. I mean, you only fight a war if you think you can win. In a case of a nuclear war, neither side wins. And so the worry that even if, you strike at other countries' nuclear sites, but even if one is, you missed one, you've had it. I don't think it's that easy to really, for nuclear countries to go to war. I mean, anything can happen, but what I feel is that there's less chance of a war now than before. I think that there was a serious chance of war between India and Pakistan. I think, but we should not be complacent now. We should now start talking peace. Having established this balance of terror, Pakistan and India should be talking peace, trying to solve this Kashmir issue based on the human rights of the Kashmiri people.
On the issue of Kashmir, how do you think that we can solve it? How are we going to get India to implement the UN resolutions? Obviously, it's not going to be militarily like in the case of Iraq. How? What should the UN do and what should other countries do?
Well, I think that, dialogue is the thing, even if it means other countries coming into it and helping solve this issue. Look, if a Northern Ireland problem could be solved, if the Palestinians and the Israelis could start talking at least, although I'm afraid the Palestinians are getting a very raw deal, but at least they're talking. I mean, why can't Pakistan and India talk?
Right, it's all very well, it's a good idea.
One of the reasons, of course, is that Pakistan is very weak right now, and India somehow doesn't think that there's a need to talk to Pakistan.
Right. But do you think if there was a different government in India, it would help the situation? Because they really are extremists, aren't they?
Well, let's see. I mean, they've come to power. Shiv Sena certainly is extremist. But, I mean, let's see. BJP might change gradually. In power, you find that people who are extreme in the beginning, in power, they start changing.
On a personal note, how has Ramzan been for you?
Well, Ramzan has been the easiest Ramzan of all times because, winter, the fasts are so easy. I mean, in England, I know when I was a week in England, so it was really like having an early breakfast and a late lunch. So you guys have had a very easy time, but here also it's very easy.
Right.
But it's a very enjoyable time for us, Ramzan.